Hi, I'm Daniel Gold, and welcome to the Gold Standard Leadership Lab. By day, I'm a partner at a leading advisory firm where I draw upon my background as an attorney to help my clients succeed. This podcast, though, is my personal project, completely separate and apart from my day job, but reflects the same passion that I exhibit everywhere for teaching, for mentoring, and helping others succeed through simple, impactful lessons. It is my hope that you'll walk away with practical takeaways to help you on your leadership journey. Thanks for being a part of this community and for joining me in the Leadership Lab. Let's get started. How often do you end your day feeling busy but not productive? You just sat in meetings for hours. You responded to email messages, to Teams messages, to Zoom messages, to Slack messages. You moved from one call to the next without a breath in between. And yet, when you finally close your laptop, you realize you didn't actually do anything to further your goals. The presentation didn't actually get written. The strategy didn't actually get refined. And the thinking, as a leader, didn't actually happen. If this sounds familiar in any way whatsoever, the good news is you are definitely not alone. But that doesn't mean that we should accept it as being normal behavior. Let's ask some uncomfortable questions right now. The first one is, how many meetings did you accept this week that had no agenda attached to the invite? How many did you leave without clear action items, owners, or due dates? How many recurring meetings are still on your calendar this year simply because no one has bothered to cancel them? So look, if you answered yes to any one of these, I can assure you that you are in the majority. But look, being in the majority doesn't make this acceptable. It doesn't make it acceptable for you, not for your team, not for the results that you as a leader are responsible for delivering. What has happened here, I believe, is that we have, as a workforce, confused presence with productivity. We have confused activity with impact, a full calendar with a full contribution. The logic seems reasonable on the surface. Okay, so if I'm in meetings, I'm engaged. If I'm engaged, I'm therefore obviously contributing. And if I'm obviously contributing, I'm valuable. But the problem is that this math doesn't hold up under scrutiny. A Microsoft survey of 31,000 workers found that 68% of workers don't have enough uninterrupted focus time in their workday. The average employee spends 57% of their time in meetings, email, and chat, and only 43% is spent actually creating work products. So those are the documents, the spreadsheets, the presentations, the actual thinking as a leader. And when asked what disrupts productivity the most, it was inefficient meetings. That ranked number one. And too many meetings came in number three. Since early 2020, workers are in three times as many video meetings per week. That explosion basically happened out of necessity during the pandemic. But the problem is that we've never recalibrated since then. We just kept the volume high and wondered why everyone just feels exhausted. So here's the part that should concern every leader. Nearly 2 in 3 people, regardless of whether they work remotely, in person, or on a hybrid schedule, say that they're struggling with having the time and energy to do their work because of meetings and email bloat. Think about that again. 2/3 of the workforce is saying out loud, the way we've structured work is getting in the way of work itself. This isn't just about feeling tired. There's hard science behind what happens to your brain when you hop from meeting to meeting without pause. Let me give you evidence. Sophie Leroy, Dean of UW Bothell's School of Business, has spent 17 years studying how the brain handles task switching. So her research reveals something that she calls attention residue. When you switch from one task to another, part of your attention stays with the prior task instead of fully transferring to the next one. You think you've moved on, but your brain hasn't. Leroy's studies found that this residue impairs performance on every new task. Basically, you're physically present in the next meeting, but cognitively, you're still processing the last one. Your brain is running too many tabs and everything slows down. Okay, more evidence. Gloria Mark at UC Irvine found that it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully regain focus after a distraction. Think about that. If you're switching contexts every 30 minutes or every 10 minutes, as many of us do, you never actually reach full cognitive capacity. You're operating at a perpetual deficit all the time. More research. So what more research shows is that workers are now switching tasks every 3 minutes on average. Nearly half of these interruptions are self-initiated. We're not just victims of our calendar, we've trained ourselves to fragment our own attention. So also interesting, Microsoft's Human Factors Lab took this another step further. So they actually put EEG caps on participants to measure brainwave activity during back-to-back video meetings. And what happened out of this, the findings that came out of the study were truly stark. When people attended four consecutive 30-minute meetings with no breaks, their beta wave activity, so beta wave activity is associated with stress, their beta wave activity increased steadily throughout the session. The stress didn't plateau, it accumulated. And when the same participants took 10-minute meeting breaks, their stress levels dropped between sessions. So just taking 10 minutes between those 30-minute meetings actually reduced stress. Why? Because their brains got to reset. By the end of the fourth meeting, their stress levels were nearly identical to where they started. The breaks didn't just feel better for them, they were changing what happened inside of their brain neurologically. The research also noticed something telling. Stress spiked just before the transition to the next meeting. Okay, so what does that mean? People were already anxious about switching gears, realizing that they maybe hadn't prepared for the next meeting, knowing that they'd have to think about something entirely different. The anticipation is where we're going here. The anticipation of context switching in and of itself was a stressor. And so here's something we don't really talk about enough. When we worked in offices, physical movement between conference rooms created natural cognitive breaks. Why? Because you had to walk down the hallway, maybe stop at somebody's desk, grab a coffee, get some water, and that friction was annoying at the time, but it served a purpose that your brain actually needed. So what's happening now with video conferencing, it eliminated that friction entirely. Now you can jump from meeting to meeting without ever leaving your chair. And because you can, you do. Think about what it would look like to sit in the same conference room for 8 hours straight, one meeting after another, never standing up, never stepping outside, never giving yourself a moment to process. It sounds absurd when you picture it. But that's exactly what many of us do now, just staring at a screen instead of a whiteboard. Working from home has benefits, a lot of benefits. In fact, more benefits than setbacks, I'd argue. I've been doing it for years. But one notable setback is that we've removed the natural recovery mechanisms that physical space used to provide, and we've replaced them with nothing. The antidote to calendar chaos is intentionality. Let me say that again. The antidote to calendar chaos is intentionality. You need to take back control. And that starts with an honest assessment of where your time actually goes. And I want to help you do this. So I've created a 5-question calendar audit. For every meeting on your calendar this week, I want you to ask yourself the following questions. 1, do I need to be in this meeting? I'm serious. Ask yourself that real question. If you weren't invited, right, or because maybe you said yes because it'd be awkward not to to decline, I want you to really think about that. Think about whether or not I have a distinct, necessary role here. Will decisions be made that require my input? If you're attending as a figurehead or just to be in the loop, that's a signal. You can be looped in through a summary email. You don't need to be there. Okay, I want you to think about something else. Take a look, open up all the calendar invites that you've accepted, and take a look carefully and see if there's an agenda in the body. Why am I asking you to do this? Because no agenda means no clarity about what we're going to accomplish during our time together, because it wasn't thought through and because nobody sent it. If someone sends you a meeting invite without an agenda, you have every right to ask for one before accepting. So for instance, maybe just send an email and just say, hey, I saw this meeting invite before I accept it. What few things need to go right in this meeting? That's a fair question. If the person who sent out the calendar invite can't answer it, the meeting probably doesn't need to happen. Okay, here's another question for you. Take a look at all those calendar invites again and take a look and see if there was a pre-read that you need to review. What does that mean? That there was an attachment, there was a document, a presentation, a spreadsheet. Right? Meetings where everyone shows up uninformed devolve into status updates and context setting. You have been there. I am positive of it. I have been there, and it's annoying. If you need background material to contribute meaningfully, that material should exist. And if it doesn't, you're going to spend the first 15 minutes getting everyone up to speed, which could have been an email, not a meeting. Also, ask yourself this. Take a look at your overall hard landscape in your calendar and see whether or not you have at least 5 to 10 minutes before each meeting to prepare and 5 to 10 meetings afterwards to process before the next meeting. Why? Because what we just talked about, your brain needs the transition time. If you're scheduled back to back with zero buffer, you're going to walk into each meeting still processing the last one and walk out without capturing what was agreed upon. Those lost action items and unclear follow-ups, that's not a memory problem, that's a design problem. And for recurring meetings, I want you to ask yourself this. Is this recurring meeting still valid? Does it need to actually still take place? Recurring meetings have a way of outliving their usefulness. Now, it may have started out with a purpose, and then what happens? Some of them get rescheduled, some of them just get canceled, but yet it's still there. So what may have started out as a weekly sync for a critical project becomes a standing obligation long after the project ends, but there it is, it's still on the calendar. So ask yourself when you last found this meeting genuinely valuable. Because if you can't remember, that's your answer. So run this audit on a weekly basis. Be honest with yourself. Give yourself permission to decline a meeting. Give yourself permission to ask questions and to push back. The discomfort of that conversation is smaller than the cost of another year of fragmented attention and accumulated stress. And here's where this becomes more than a personal productivity issue. How you manage your calendar signals to your team what you value. That's right. How you manage your calendar signals to your team what you value. If you're always in meetings back to back, you're modeling that presence must therefore equal contribution. If you never protect time for deep work, neither will they. If you schedule over lunch breaks and stack calls until 6 p.m., you're setting the norm, whether or not you intend to do so. Leaders who protect their calendars signal that focused work matters. Thinking matters. They demonstrate that it's acceptable to say no to a meeting that lacks purpose. They create space for their teams to think, not just react. The research has also shown that meeting-free days result in a 78% reduction in meeting volume, obviously, and a 22% increase in focused work. Some companies have experimented with canceling all recurring meetings with 3 or more people and banning meetings on certain days entirely. You want to know what the results of that are? Employees reported feeling more productive, and some teams completed significantly more projects than the year before. Now, you don't have to implement a company-wide policy to make progress here. You could just start with your own calendar. You can start with your own team. You can model what intentional time management looks like and then watch the ripple effect as others follow. There's an accountability dimension here that deserves attention as well. Holding others accountable for follow-through is on the same level of importance as holding yourself to that same standard. So if you're going to require your teams to send out agendas, to document action items, to respect each other's time, then you need to model that same behavior every time. This is about respecting other people's time. It's also about respecting your own. When your calendar says you have no time, you just cannot be the best version of yourself. You cannot think strategically. You cannot lead thoughtfully. And you cannot create the conditions for your team to do the best work. So this audit that I am providing for you isn't just about efficiency. It is about integrity. It is about aligning your stated priorities with how you actually spend your hours. So this week, I'm challenging you to do 3 things. The first, run that 5-question audit we just went over together. Every meeting that's on your calendar, be ruthless. Decline at least one meeting you would have mindlessly attended. Number 2, I really strongly encourage you to set buffer time between your meetings. Set your default meeting length to 25 minutes or to 50 minutes instead of the 30 or 60. Those 5 to 10 minutes are not wasted time. They're recovery time that your brain actually requires, as we just discussed. Then, I want you to protect one block of focused work time this week. Put it in your calendar and treat it like your most important meeting. Why? Because honestly, it just might be. I can tell you this, being busy is not a badge of honor. It is often a sign that we've lost control on the one resource that we can literally never get back. So I'm asking you to take back your calendars, your brain, your team, and your results, I promise you, will thank you. I'm going to leave you with some reflection questions as well. When you do this audit and you go through all of this, how many hours did you spend in meetings in the week? And how many of those meetings produce clear outcomes? And what recurring meetings on your calendar have outlived its usefulness? And when was the last time you had 2 consecutive hours of uninterrupted focus time during the workday? Okay, here's this week's challenge for everyone. Send an email to one person who regularly schedules meetings without agendas and ask them a simple question. What few things need to go right in this meeting? Don't be confrontational, be curious. You might be surprised how often the person scheduling the meeting hasn't even thought about it either. That one question, asked consistently, can change your entire meeting culture over time. And lastly, remember, leadership isn't about perfection. It is about progress. Take this lesson, put it into action, and continue setting the gold standard in your own life and at work. See you all next time.